Hi there, Carol here with Carol B Crafts. Welcome to Throwback Thursday. Throwback Thursday is the day that I look through my stamp sets that have been released in previous catalogs but are still available in the 2017-2018 annual catalog. And so I have come up with birthday blossoms, and this little punch here, this little flower here, is cut out with the Pansy punch. They coordinate, and the Pansy punch also coordinates with the Flower Shop stamps, and you can make all these cute little flowers and then punch them out with the daisy punch. The card that I'm going to be making today with you is this card right here. Now this card uses the Wood Textures DSP. It comes in 6x6 sheets, and this Wood Textures is available through my customer reward program. If you'd like to check that out on my blog, www.carolbcrafts.com. Today we'll be using this particular DSP sheet, but you could use any of them. This one, I've used this one as well. You probably want to stay away from the warmer ones or the ones that are lighter, like more of a white. But they might actually look better. I'm not sure if it would look good or not. You could try it. This one I've done one in. So the darker ones, definitely want to use those. And you want to use it so the wood's going in a horizontal pattern. I think it just looks better that way. So that the Wood Textures is available through my customer reward program, and this is a DSP package, the Delightful Daisy package that you can get as a gift from me, no charge to you, with any $60 retail purchase using the current host code on my blog, www.carolbcrafts.com. So check that out because it's a good deal for you. So let's get started on making our card. Now all the dimensions for these pieces of cardstock and DSP will be on my blog. So just look for the video post for this card, and then you'll see all the supplies and dimensions there. So we're going to start out with our basic A2 size card, 8.5, 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then we're going to need, for our bottom panel, we're going to need Dapper Denim 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And because this is a thicker, I want to say ribbon that we're using, the burlap ribbon is kind of thick. I like to use what I call a liner underneath the panel that I'm going to put the ribbon on, just to give it a little lift so that there's not a bump in your card where the ribbon is. But you don't have to use that, but if you want to use that, then you'll want to have a piece of thick Whisper White, 3 3/4 by 5. So let's go ahead and we'll start by putting this on here. So before we do that, we want our ribbon, and you'll need a 7.5 inch piece of the burlap ribbon, and it's going to go in the center of the card on the front, but we're going to use this right here to measure for our liner, and we're going to put it in the center where we think the center is. Take a pencil and mark about 1/8 of an inch on both sides of your ribbon. And the grid paper is really good for helping you figure out where the middle is. So then once we marked our on the sides of our ribbon, we're going to take our scissors. We're going to cut in about 1 inch. A little more, a little less, doesn't really matter. what we're doing is we're cutting out a piece for the ribbon to lay flat on the back. So once we have our pieces cut, we'll flatten them out a little bit here. This is going to go on the back side of our Dapper Denim panel, and it's going to be like this. And then you'll see that once we put it on the front and we turn it around, there's going to be a little space there for each piece, each little part of our ribbon. So we'll go ahead and put this on the back of our panel. I'm using some snail. I'm going to use a piece of waxy strip left over from my glue dots, the mini glue dots. This is going to go on the back. Just kind of center it like we would a panel on top. Okay, so now we're ready to put, before we put our ribbon on, we want to put our front panel on, the wood panel. And the wood panel from the Wood Textures DSP is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and we're going to have it going horizontal. Okay, and then again, before we put our ribbon on, I don't know if you can see, but there is a little bit of copper thread back there behind the doily, just to kind of give it a little bit of interest. If you don't have the copper thread, then you don't need to do this part. It will look just fine without it. But if you do have the copper thread, then you'll want to take some adhesive, and I'm going to use Fast Fuse, and we want it in the middle, just about where underneath where this is going to go. So we don't want it coming from the edge, just kind of there in the center. And I like the Fast Fuse because it's a little bit stronger than your usual adhesive. So I'm going to take this and spread my fingers out a little bit. I'm going to wrap it around. I'm going to do it about 5 times. And then I'm going to cut it. And then I'm going to take it and lay it down in this and kind of shape it around a little bit to where I want it. And then I'm going to spread it out a little bit just so that it has covers more area. And then the next thing we want to do before we put our ribbon on is we want to make our little doily. Now you know that the doily is round and this is oval. So we want to go ahead and have the top part facing up, and we're just going to match it up so that the scallops are even. We're going to take our snips and cut a 1/2 inch. We're going to cut in 1/4 inch, but we're going to cut a 1/2 inch space there in the center of our doily. And then we're going to take a glue dot and put a glue dot right there on one side near the center, and we're going to just fold it over just enough to get the glue dot to catch on the other side. Now the goal that we have here, I'll put this down so you can see a little better, and I'll bring in the camera. The goal that we have here is to not bend the lace part. We can put folds in the center part, the solid paper part, and I'm just pinching it. I pinch 2 in the center, 2 pinches in the center, then a pinch on each side of the center, and a pinch on the other side. And then we're just going to take it and kind of lay it flat, and try not to get it to for the lace to fold. I mean, if it does, it's not the end of the world, but you only want your folds in the center part. That way it gives more of a doily look. You might have to work with it a little bit, but you can do it. So once you get that kind of more oval shaped, you're ready to put it on your card. So we know that we're going to put our ribbon, so we're going to put this over, and then we're going to put our ribbon over it. So the best thing I have found, the best way to do it is to go ahead and put some snail on the right side of the ribbon, or the right side of the back where the ribbon is going to go. But don't touch your ribbon into the fast fuse, because then it will stick, and you don't want it to stick. We just want to be able to get an idea where our ribbon is going to go, and then once we do that, we'll know where to put our doily, because we want it in the center. So that looks about right there. Okay, and we can just push that down into that adhesive. And I'm going to actually use a little glue dot down at the bottom of each one of these to help it to stay down. Okay, so we have our little bitty, we have that, and now we're going to just take our ribbon and we're going to go put some snail on this part, bring our ribbon around and sink it into the adhesive on the back. So now we have our doily. Can ruffle it up a little bit, pull our copper thread out. Okay, so we have the base of our card pretty much ready. So we'll go ahead and put it on our card base, which is the card base right here. We'll do that with some snail. And it's good to go ahead and put some on the ribbon as well. And then I'll use my waxy strip to put it in place. Okay, we're ready to do our stamping, and we need a half a sheet of Whisper White, and that's going to be for our front sentiment to have a beautiful birthday. That's from the Birthday Blossom stamps. And then we're going to need it for our flowers. These flowers are, this is the pansy that we're using. It has kind of a denim look to it. That's why I chose that one. But if you didn't have this stamp, then you could use the stamp that comes with the Birthday Blossoms if you just have the Birthday Blossoms. But the two together make a really nice set. Okay, so we need the this half sheet of Whisper White for that, and then the inside sentiment is going to be Celebrate You, and I'm going to use these little pansies here to decorate the inside as well. Okay, so let me show you what the inside looks like. And I'll take these off. This is for the inside sentiment. It's 3.5 by 4 3/4. It's Whisper White. Now the first stamping we'll do is going to be with Dapper Denim. You will need a piece of scratch paper. So I have one right here. And the first thing we'll do is go ahead and stamp the front sentiment. Have a beautiful birthday. And since we're going to cut it out with the stitched oval, and by the way, that comes from, the stitched oval comes from the Stitched Shapes Framelits dies, and it's the second largest oval, stitched oval. So we'll be needing that later. And then let's see, what else? Well, we'll just go ahead and stamp. And so have a beautiful birthday in Dapper Denim. This has been such a fun card to make. And I'm probably going to make quite a few more of them just because it is easy and fun. And it's pretty impressive, I think, for as simple as it is. Okay, so that's our happy birthday. Now we're going to do our pansies. And I have a little arrow here. And that tells me that I need to stamp with the arrow pointing up. I figured it out. I took some time and figured it out so that when I stamp like this and then I use my punch, it'll be a perfect match and it'll be easy to just punch that right out when I'm done. So we'll do a full strength here. And then if you notice the top pansy is not as dark as the bottom pansy. So we're going to stamp off when we do that pansy. And we're going to just quickly stamp off and then on our cardstock. And it's quite a bit lighter, but it'll darken as it dries. Okay, and then let's see, the next thing we need to do in blue is our sentiment, our inside sentiment. We'll be stamping off for this. Let me move this up there. And it's going to be horizontal. This is stamped off, so we'll use our stamp with all of our cluster of pansies, but this is an E block because the D block wasn't big enough for it. I've been using the E block a lot lately. I think that it's pretty handy to have, so if you don't have one, you might want to pick one up. Okay, so stamp off, stamp on. I'm going to put it in the lower left corner. So stamp off, stamp on. And that looks good. So we are done with our Dapper Denim. Now we're going to have Tranquil Tide. And Tranquil Tide, we're going to do the Celebrate You full strength. And I'm going to put that right there in the kind of in the top right hand corner. But I want to leave a little room to write a little note to someone, at least sign my name. Okay, so that's our inside sentiment. And then with the other thing that we're going to stamp with the green, we're going to stamp the leaves. And that's these leaves here from the birthday blossoms. And we're going to fussy cut those out since there isn't a die for them. And we'll go right there. And then we'll put another one right here. And that is our stamping. Okay, so we'll set this aside for a little bit. And since I used the arrows to line up to stamp my stamp so that I could just slide my punch in, it'll be so much easier to punch these out from the edge. Takes a minute to line them up really well, but it's easy. It's just trying to make sure everything's in place. So we have our two pansies. Now we need to fussy cut our little leaves. And I'm going to cut them in half, cut them separate. They're easier to work with that way. I'm going to take my snips and I'm just going to go, I'm going to leave just the smallest little bit of edge white around the side of the flower or the leaf. And I move the paper and not my scissors. That's one of the things that makes it easier. You get a smoother cut if you move the paper and not the scissors. Okay, so we have our leaves and we have our two flowers. Now we need to cut our have a beautiful birthday out with our second largest oval, stitched oval from the stitched oval framelits. We'll do that on our big shot. Let me make sure everything is in focus here. Maybe back out just a little bit. Okay, so since it's magnetic, I can put my plate down on top of it, put my image down on top of that, and then I can, because it's magnetic, it will hold that the die in place for me. Once I get it where I want it, it'll hold it in place, and then I can just put the second plate on and run it through like that, and I have my finished sentiments. Now we're also going to do this part, the green scalloped oval underneath that, and we're going to need a piece of Tranquil Tide. And the Tranquil Tide is 2.5 by 4. We'll put that on our plate. Now this isn't got an image, so we can just pretty much put that anywhere. And we don't really have to worry as long as it's on the cardstock. And we'll send that through the big shot. And now we have our scalloped background for our sentiment, like this. And this scallop comes from the Layering Ovals framelits, and it is the third largest scalloped oval in the set. So I hope that was helpful. Let's bring everything back in. We have our inside panel of Dapper Denim, our two flowers, our sentiments that we just cut with our big shot, and our two things of leaves that we cut out with our scissors. So let's go ahead and put this on. We'll need our snail. Just put a little bit of snail on the back. I'm going to use my waxy strip from my mini glue dots to help me to put it in place. We'll go ahead and put our Celebrate You on our piece of Dapper Denim for the inside panel. 3 3/4 by 5. Okay, let's bring our card in. Now we'll go ahead and put this on the inside. Okay, we have our inside sentiment. Now we're going to finish building our front. And we're going to put this on, no, my leaves are hiding. We're going to put this on with the regular size dimensionals, the Stampin' dimensionals. We're going to put 3 and put them as close to the edge as you can, because without them showing when it's flipped over, because you want to make room for that ribbon to be able to fit there in between them. Okay, so we're going to put it so that the ribbon goes in between here as best we can. We'll fluff up our lace a little bit. All right, so next we're going to decide where to put all this stuff. Put leaves here, one of the big leaves on this side, one of the big leaves on that side. The darker flower I think looks better on the bottom, and the lighter flower looks better on the top. So the leaves I'm going to put on with glue dots. And I'm going to put them near the bottom on the leaf, but near the bottom. And that's so that we can kind of curl the leaves up a little bit to give them some dimension. So I think I want it about right there, just wherever you like the looks of it. And then we'll do the same with this one. We'll put near the stem of the leaf, down at the bottom. And that one I think looked good like this. Okay, to put our flowers on, we're going to put those on with dimensionals as well. We'll put one dimensional. Now I can see where the ribbon is, so I don't want to put the dimensional where the ribbon is going to be. So I'm going to put it behind here. Just flip it over, put it there, and just put it back where it was. And then this one I am going to put, it looks like maybe this one should have been over a little bit more. I'm going to have to move it. So let me get my moving tool, my piercing tool, and I'm just going to move it over a little bit. Maybe like right there. That's better. That gives me more room for this flower. It was covering that one up. Okay, so this one I'm going to put my Stampin' Dimensionals on this part of the flower because the ribbon is there. So this time I'm going to use 2 dimensionals because I want them to one on top of the other, because I want them to have like double dimension, because it's going to be on top. So we want it, and I can actually see my dimensional, so I'm going to have to move it. Let's see, probably right there is good. And then if you want, you can, if you want a little more dimension, you can just gently bend, not fold, but just curl up the leaves and the petals just slightly. It doesn't take much to get the dimension out of them. Okay, now the only thing we have left is our pearls, and I added 3 pearls to give it a little, you know, bling. So we have a pearl here, a large pearl there, a medium pearl there, and a small pearl here. So we have our basic jewels, pearl basic jewels. Get that piercing tool out again. Get one of these larger ones, and I'm going to put it, I think it was right about here that I had the other one. That looked like a good spot. And then the medium-sized pearl, I'll get one of those. It's going to go right here. That looks good. And then the littlest pearl is going to go up here in the corner, kind of by that leaf. So that gives it a nice, like, triangle motion thing going on there. So So we are done with our card, and I hope that you will get a chance to make one of these or several of these, because we have all that wood textures paper and we've got to do something with it. And this is a nice project for using up our wood textures paper. Thanks for watching. Check out my blog, www.carolbcrafts.com, for my customer rewards program, and have a great day. Bye now.